at San Francisco CrossFit, and I'm going to get my elbow worked on by Mr. Kelly Starrett. But first, I got to bring him some popcorn. His wife loves popcorn, so protein popcorn.
Your total hip window is pretty small here, right? And I would say it's better than most because of what you do for a living. But this window, I'd like to see at about 130 total degrees, not 30 total degrees. And especially here, that's only about like 7 degrees. I'd like to have it like 20 or 30. Because
looks painful.
What's going down?
How you doing?
I'm well. Oh man. Mark Bell, Raph.
How's it going?
All right. Nice
to meet you.
A little hockey player.
Nice.
And by say little, I mean littler.
Yeah. After road, I was like, oh, the Starrett road.
And RR is a diphthong, and so it's Starrett is actually how you pronounce it. But we on the West Coast violate the diphthong. Starrett.
Starrett.
Gotta have that star in there.
He's
K-Star.
so fucking smart.
What? Because you know the word diphthong?
Yeah.
Are you related to
Don't-
Patrick Star? SpongeBob?
There are a lot of stars.
Have you guys seen what happens if you actually Google K-Star?
K-Star Ross.
It's like a bunch of pop stars show up, and Kelly.
Don't
It's like all these Korean kids with their shirts off, and
Don't
Kelly.
Google starfish.
Don't
Google that.
don't brown starfish is not you.
Don't Google that.
So show me where it hurts.
Let's see, right here, right there.
That spot.
Yeah, it's where it gets like kind of jelly-ish and shitty, especially after a workout.
What I would think is, and you can see it's even just a little bit swollen. This is actually this is right in the insertion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can think conceptually around this, just like if
I'm
someone
just looking at the camera and say these are the biggest goddamn triceps you've ever seen in your life.
these triceps have to be licensed and taken out of the vault and put back every day. Someone has to sign them. I mean, have you thought about like getting your triceps?
The biceps detached, but the triceps are still good.
But have you thought about getting like models get their legs insured, right? You should do
Tricep
that.
insurance.
Can you do that?
I don't know.
I'll split it. Let's
You
find
should.
out. I would
We'll
be
split the
so
cost.
proud to say that I insure Mark's triceps.
600-pound benching triceps.
So what I'm thinking is two things. One is I want to make sure that you got, because you can think conceptually around this. It's like an apophysitis typically, especially since it really does feel so insertional.
Right.
And that it's like an Osgood Slaughter's kind of problem, or an insertion, or when people, we see a lot of knee forward translation in the bottom of the squat, lights up their hip flexors.
Right.
And literally you're taking the rectus femoris and ripping off the bone, so it's a tendon insertion. So we're asking, well, what's going on? Is it not getting perfused well enough? You're not getting enough blood flow before and after.
Right.
And is the elbow? Can you straighten the elbow? Because if the elbow's always stuck bent, then it's under constant tension.
I can straighten it. I can straighten both of them, or at least I feel like they're straight. I don't know how straight.
Just relax for me.
Yep.
So a couple things I'm noticing, just since we're talking, is that your wrists are very stiff. Like, how do you even work in the world? Can you, you can basically feed yourself?
I use a fork and a straw.
One time I was talking about how I was worried about my wrist being tight, and you're like, it's fine. You can just feed, wash your hand with the other
Yeah, I
side.
can't touch your shoulder.
How flexible should a wrist be?
This is a good test, and this is so get into a push-up position for me, can you?
Oh my God.
Remember that thing? Yep. Now, and so so you'll notice that his forearm isn't straight up and down yet, right? And for an elite level, I don't know, grabber, you grip things for a living.
Right.
Turn your hands around backwards, all the way.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Shouldn't hurt. That's halfway.
Yeah,
That's 50%.
I don't think I can go all the way.
Because we should be able to get into this shape, no problem. Right? As a quick screen, everyone should have this much range of motion. You don't need more range of motion than that, but as a quick screen, that's a simple test.
You're like double jointed or something, aren't you?
No. Ready?
I can get into about
Right? Isn't that crazy? Imagine I'm going to lift up a piano or something heavy. Right? That's that shape. We're just being able to have that much range.
That's severe pain.
It's severe, okay.
Severe pain.
What's interesting is that what you're seeing is everyone's looking upstream of the elbow,
Right.
and very few people are talking about the loads on the system that are happening down below.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons, even if you're thinking about him benching, right, not having that, or being stiff here is causing the shoulder to translate forward a little bit more. And then once again, you're in a kind of you're trying to unload that position, and you end up doing it with the shoulder, and then the tricep ends up being funky.
Right.
Right. So I think that is as part of the issue. We'll talk about that. I mean, because this is only we'll just have to do a stretch for 30 seconds, and that will obviously release. Right. Just let your elbow bend.
A lot of loads on that forearm.
Well,
Excuse me.
It's
That's
the
what I heard
left
out of that.
forearm, obviously.
what I heard
What
out
I'm
of that.
trying to feel is, can I get to the end of the joint there, right?
You just hyperextended it 10 times.
What you're seeing is there's obviously some swelling, but I'm nowhere near the end of the joint in that position. You see how it feels hollow, right? And there's no clear capsular range. It's better than I thought.
Should write a book about this stuff.
Seriously. I don't know. I don't know if anyone would read it.
No,
That's the
probably.
problem. No one really wants to bench more. Does that hurt your elbow at all?
No, it actually feels kind of good.
Feels kind of good to get the end range. That's not bad, Mark. But we definitely need to make sure that we can get into the capsule. What we're seeing is
The twisting, it actually feels good. There's a little pain there, but
yeah, you can see this example in the knee. When the knee gets stuck in this open position, right? The joint basically never gets a chance to realign.
yeah.
So it gets caught when I call
I
open.
get little pointy knee things sometimes. If I work through here, it gets rid of it.
Yeah, and that's that upstream downstream punch. The forearm's tight. It's going to contribute, especially if we're looking at feeding slack to the system. If your forearm's really tight, it's basically pulling. And this is an example because people can relate to it, because the elbow is sort of like a dark hole. It doesn't really give us information or bark at us very often. But watch my patella here. You see when I pull on my shin, how it pulls on patella? Still moving the patella. Still moving the patella. Look how far down the shin I am, and that big sheet of connective tissue is still wiggling the skin on the patella. And
It's weird. It's almost like your knee's connected to your shin.
it's weird, they're contiguous systems. So we're not looking at the fascial component, which can put additional load into that. So the other thing is, if your elbow doesn't ever straighten, then we don't get the joint ends up always with a slight twist in it.
Right.
And that little torsion in sort of a poor alignment, and then when you put it under big loads, you're just asking for a little off-axis loading.
Right.
Right. So if I was squatting and couldn't get my knee into a good
slamming in.
right, I need to be able to straighten the leg out and actually restore that motion. So we'll see if we can't do that. We're building a picture. So we see stiff forearms, elbow that doesn't rotate well, right? I don't know why.
It's probably because of these big pecs.
I know, it's weird. And so suddenly what ends up happening is when we're seeing that he's missing internal rotation and a little stiff to the T-spine. So look what happens, the elbow has to compensate, right? So in order to keep the hand orientated correctly on the bar with the shoulder forward a little bit, you can see that it's added a whole bunch of rotation, little strength here. And then that's enough already to light this up, because things aren't just running in
Basically, just because things are off, it's setting the elbow off a little bit and just putting more stress on it than it's necessary.
And if you only benched, let's say, 400, it may not even bark at you ever.
Right.
But it's something about 600, right?
Yeah, I did 315 and 405 the other day for sets of 5, and not a whole lot of pain. 405 was probably a little too ambitious for right now, but everything's
So if you're watching, you can see that the front of Mark's pec is actually, it's almost in front of his nipple, but his nipples are way far from his body. But in this position, there's no way that the front of his shoulder should be in front of his chest. So in resting shape, what ends up happening is when we see shoulder in front of pec, that's a problem.
Yeah, a lot
And
of overlap.
I want to see the pec. I
I shouldn't have to wash right here. I shouldn't have to spread it open and wash right there. There shouldn't be cheese in there.
Well, that's why they have elephant brushes, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you bench like that, I mean, look at the bench set or how you take it out. I mean, the
Right.
pec is back, right? That's a pretty good resting position.
Right.
So, you know, and some of that I think just happens because you've gotten stiff. So let's take a look on your back. Nope. You get that a lot.
Yep.
Oh. Let's go over that way, smidge. So even though you're like, yeah, that's my shoulder, I can really see what normalcy is, right? And the difference is side to side. So I'm putting Mark's shoulder to the back of the socket and looking at his internal rotation. And what you can see there is this missing internal rotation. He has some, which is why he gets away with.
And what's weird is he said it puts stress on my elbow, like kills my elbow right away.
That kills your elbow, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so when you bench, one of the things that you tend to do, you like to lift your head up.
Yeah.
And that's how he
Cheat. I go.
And because do that again. Do you see what that does to his shoulder? Allows your shoulder to compensate.
Yeah.
You can basically hide that range.
If I go here like this, chest is usually up. Bring the weight down. Once I get to here, I lift my head up.
And because he's missing that rotation, the stability down here, by bringing his head up, it allows him to keep the shoulder stable, but it's still not complete range. And that's
Right.
that's what's getting your elbow, right? Where I want to see the hip, the shoulder, is here, but you can see the rotational demands on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he sets the shoulder, the poor elbow gets caught in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? That's the problem.
Yeah, and I'm kind of feeling that right here.
Yeah. Let's go over a smidge. A little bit more. We need the bigger table. Going to need a bigger boat.
Too bad we didn't learn this when we were powerlifting back in the day.
Right? And you can see the difference on this side is that we actually have less rotation available in this arm.
Right.
And that's the difference. That's all it takes. When we see an athlete, I call these rotational windows, and when you're missing internal rotation, shoulder's going to be forward. That's your resting position.
Right.
And it also, this is one of the chief reasons why athletes have a hard time getting underneath the squat.
All right.
It's because they live
Huge
forward.
problem for me. Yeah.
They live forward, and then once you're forward, you can't turn that back around
Right.
without and get back underneath the squat rack, right? Because the shoulder is so far forward.
Right. I have resting bitch shoulder.
Retchy bitchiness. Still open for bitchiness.
Resting bench shoulders.
That's totally true. So this is definitely, unless we clear up this, we're never going to get to the heart of the elbow.
Right.
So when we kind of were building our problem list, that's definitely one of the issues, right? And when the doctors checked out your elbow, they looked at your internal rotation.
They did, yeah.
They did. They checked your shoulder rotation.
They checked checked pressure, inward, outward, all
No,
that
they
kind of
checked
stuff.
pressure for pain.
Right.
Did they say you had?
No.
No.
They didn't check.
And when they
range
looked
of
at your
motion.
forearm range of motion,
No, they didn't check
did
my
not either.
forearm at all.
Wasn't that weird?
And they didn't really give me any recommendations on what to do about any of this.
The problem with when we take a musculoskeletal problem sometimes to a physician is that the physician has 6 minutes usually in American medicine to come and make an assessment. And that 6 minutes starts when they take your chart and walk to the room. And what they're looking for is, hey, what's the medical pathology here? But aren't trained in,
Right.
aren't able to assess, don't have the training, don't even know what to look for around, hey, no one asked you, did you have normal range of motion in the big engine right above the problem? And so we have a very restricted hip problem, AE, right? And then I have a little back pain.
Right.
So we see the same thing where, hey, I'm missing a ton of rotation at the shoulder, and I have elbow problem, or I'm missing all my ankle range of motion, and I have a knee problem, right?
Right.
We're not making that connection. And the problem is we've been using our physicians poorly. They're not the ones set up for that.
Right.
When you are, it's a catastrophe and you're destroyed, then it's the time to go talk to your doc and your surgeon. The rest of this has to be solved by ourselves. So we need to stop blaming the docs, but we need to start understanding that we need to ask the right questions in there, because we're never going to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
When we
I don't
lecture
know.
at Stanford, 50% of the problems a physician will see are musculoskeletal. So half of their work is, and literally they get 2 days of training. They just don't get any
Right.
training.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're managing liver enzymes and cancer and all
Yep.
these other really difficult problems, right? I'm just feeling it feels a little swollen. It's called palatable. And when they said your elbow was swollen, they're looking at something called sail sign.
Right.
You can actually see the capsule, and it looks like a little sail on a sailboat. So this just doesn't, it feels a little bit more full. But the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure, the rule is if something's not moving, get it moving. We want to make sure we can get into these corners. That's the
Will
capsule.
ice or electric stim or any of that kind of stuff help?
Well, what we're thinking about is, one is I'm not going to even take the bait on the ice.
All right.
You bastard. If you don't want something to heal because you feel like you're too strong, too powerful, you should ice it. Right? If you're like, hey, I want to make something more congested and more swollen, you should ice it. Right? If you want to block the connection between your brain and the problem, then ice it. That's great. Right? The real issue is, if we're looking at, and this is, I think, is a fundamental problem in some of our strength athletes, is that they're under huge loads, and we don't get enough movement during the rest of the day.
Right.
I know you're busy, family man, bench 600, and you literally run out the door to make dinner, right?
Right.
And what ends up happening is that you just have an adaptation area. Your tissues have just gotten stiff because of that.
Right.
And so what I think is a unit like a Mark Pro or a Compex does a good job of creating contractions so that we can drain your lymphatic system. Because think about the congestion and the post-exercise induced adaptation response. And what ends up happening is because we're not doing any movement afterwards, that we're not really flushing. And so the areas get congested. So any time where you can just get muscles moving, you could get on the exercise bike and ride 45 minutes, or you could watch UFC and pump, right?
Right.
I'm all about that. And there's that old maxim, if you're a weightlifter, right? If you're sitting or you're standing and you can sit. You're sitting, you can lay down, right? If you're laying down, you can sleep. So basically, you should be standing up or sleeping, and that works in terms of saving your energy, but it's really poor in terms of the mistakes sometimes we see around the tissues, right? And one of the things we do, like all my pitchers now, I have them do a lot of press downs. I think the slingshot's great for this.
Right.
Like when you're finished with your heavy work, throw it on, take care of your elbows, just do some max reps, just like get pumped full of blood. Right. You could throw a voodoo band on, do some occlusion.
Bodybuilder on.
Yeah, we want to do that bodybuilder stuff. I think that there's some wisdom. I mean, and if you're not looking at what the bodybuilders are doing to be so successful, that's a mistake.
Right.
They've solved a lot of problems for us, but tendon health and perfusion is a big deal. So I think doing some occlusion with a few sets,
Right.
we're just going to basically make a highway of blood back into these tissues that get pissed
This
off.
from PT school or jiu-jitsu?
It's like Kimura,
Yeah.
PT Kimura.
Most of it you probably learn on your own, right?
No, there's some. We think about the application. PT school is really good
Jesse
at teaching.
Burdick, right?
Yeah, I learned everything from Jesse Burdick.
Megamind. He's got a lot of stuff.
It's totally true. It's totally
a lot
true.
of information.
Well, he told me already right away. It's like you have too much hair. So I try to work on that. I'm getting better. A little bit less
Well,
hair
shave
now.
it.
What's that?
Shave it.
I could.
He's getting there.
I'm getting
Yeah,
there. It's the
yeah.
first step, baby step. You're not going to squat, 1,000 without squatting 500 first.
That's
There you
right.
go.
You know what I mean? Jesse pointed out a long time ago I wasn't eating enough. I was like, good, big tip from him. Hey, there's this stuff, it's called food.
Yeah.
You should eat more of it.
Did it work?
Yeah, tremendously.
What, were you like too skinny or what?
Well, yeah, just you get working.
Yeah.
If you're, and you just you blow through,
Yeah.
train, and then right after you miss your big window.
My good friend Jimmy Bluff, he works on people like 10 hours a day, and it's like he doesn't take a lot of time for himself. It's like really hard because you're just working on people, right?
Well,
He'll
He'll
people
lose
all day.
10 pounds before he knows it.
He doesn't
He's
eat.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
he doesn't
shit.
eat. He's like,
it's just tough. It's tough.
and he's huge. He's like 6'4", like 260. He's jacked, but like,
Yeah, that's a big guy. Di Thompson, barked at me too because I was when I was really trying to squat a lot with you guys, I would squat and then go right back to work.
Right.
And
it's crazy.
I developed this really weird stiff hamstring thing, and that was because it's my hamstring problem was the same as your elbow problem.
Right.
It was just like that mistake. I was under big loads, and then not moving enough afterwards.
Make sure that when you edit and every time it says big loads that we get a ding.
big squirt on the
Little,
screen.
yeah, a little count, a squirt.
Squirt emoji.
What I mean is heavy loads.
Heavy loads. There's no good way, yeah. Nothing good is going to
Weights. Is that why you say weights?
Yeah, weights.
Weights.
In San Francisco, they say heavy loads.
Heavy loads.
Over here, on this side of the.
Believe it or not, there's
River.
actually gay people everywhere.
No way.
Yeah.
No.
That wasn't even a gay joke. That was just a joke.
I know.
In general.
I know, and I'm just making a statement.
Yeah.
That actually, there are,
Hey, man.
there are actually gay people all over the planet. What I'm feeling right now is to make sure that you know, we have radius and ulna, right? And I'm trying to feel how the head of that radius is articulated.
I'm full of radiation.
You are. It's totally true. So I'm making sure that we can get that full extension. And you can see actually as we've been just getting into the capsule a little bit, he can get into this hyperextension, which is amazing. I mean, this is really where when he finishes. And if you see the best Olympic lifters, they all have. You should have some hyperextension in the elbows.
Yeah.
And a lot of our powerlifters end
even
up.
that guy that put like almost 600 over his head.
Yeah, a little bit of
Elbows were
hyperextension.
backwards a little bit, yeah.
And that we should see that in all our athletes. It's not an accident that I think that you have the joints that do that too, but they get stuck bent, and that causes a problem. And sometimes we do that when you do those partial reps because you don't actually finish, right? The same finish that you would do in a lockout, you just kind of finish halfway. I think that's one of the problems.
I did a lot of your warm-up stuff the other day, and that helped a lot. Just get, like you said, just get a lot of blood in there.
Yeah.
A lot of biceps and triceps.
Yeah.
A couple hundred reps of triceps.
I don't think we're doing enough of that. And you know, sometimes in the strength athletes, you know, I don't think we're doing enough curls.
Right.
You know, you guys lectured me like 6 years ago. Like it was really Pavel who was one of the guys talking about move your hands out to the rings, and if you flip your shoulder into a stable position, the carrying angle it actually kicks out. So we're actually
That's the exact position you want to be in when you bench.
It is.
It's the same thing.
It's the same position. But what we're doing is we're forcing those tissues to work at end range and actually extend, and it is painful. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
That's much better there. Just real quick, just move around. I don't know if you'll see any change, but just move it. Does that feel better, same, worse? Can you tell any difference? You might not.
No, it does feel a little bit better. Like turning my palm down and flexing my arm, like hurt pretty bad before, and there's not as much pain there.
Good, and you can see what that position is. That's that internal rotation.
Yeah.
Right. You want to take a look at your T-spine real quick? Let me get a cradle. Yeah.
A cradle.
You can cradle me. Cradle to the grave.
He's like, let me take a look at your T-spine. You're like, where's that?
I think he needs me to take my shorts off. That'd be great. He comes back, got my shorts down.
Well, he said he's going to get you a cradle. He's going to get you like a baby bonnet and like a...
Maybe he said. Maybe he thinks I'm Jewish. Maybe he said dreidel. Yeah, turning my like flexing my tricep this way is not too bad, but turning my arm that way was really hard. Did you say cradle or dreidel?
Yes. Schneidel. on your face. Put this hand behind your back, and you can just support your head in this hand hand behind your back. That's weird. Oh. So our quick, easy screen, do we have enough rotation? And you'll see that we don't.
Rotation.
Let's kick this hand out too.
Well, we got to see this, hold on. 'Cause I can't see it from over there.
You should easily be able to put your hand
That hurts really bad.
up your back, and you can see just how the rotation is missing. And you know, a quick, easy screen, and you should actually be able to lift your hand off your back without your shoulder dumping forward.
I think it's genetic.
So just come here. There you go.
I can't do it.
You all right there, Claymore? Yep. What I want to feel is, let's put this hand up on the table too. Just want to feel what's going on. And your head is, can you put your head in neutral? I have to get changed table. Let me get a different table, hang on.
I failed a test. Story of my life.
You may not be asked to be back again. Come back again.
What, did I just fucking sleep like that?
Sorry, Mark Bell, you're off the team. Here it comes with a cradle for you and a pacifier. We thought you were going to put him in a cradle before.
Cradle. What? You can't cradle that man.
Yeah, we're gonna sleep.
He's too big for one bed.
I saw 10 Cloverfield Lane last night.
What?
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Was it good?
So fun.
Really?
I heard it was really scary.
No.
No?
Just really, really Fun. Did not see it. Like, it's like Hitchcock inside an alien movie.
Really?
Yeah, just it's so good. John Goodman, so creepy and so good.
I wasn't expecting that to be any good.
Because it wasn't cheesy like handheld camera. It was literally like good play.
It was
Three people done well, and then you don't know. It's like, is this really? Is this? Am I imagining this?
So it wasn't like the first Cloverfield.
No, which was like for teens.
Yeah.
For tweens. All right, it's gonna have a feel through here, Mark. Oh wow. It's almost like, as a therapist, you test a hypothesis, and my hypothesis is that you're stiff as fuck. So what you're seeing here is, and I'm confirming my hypothesis. What we're seeing is you can't squat 1,000, you can't squat heavy, you can't pull what these guys are pulling and not see stiffness in the T-spine. And when the T-spine is stiff, you see that this doesn't move at all. If I come down to his lumbar, I have nice motion here, and I would expect the thoracic spine to have some motion, but his ends up being very stiff. And right here, you can see there's some, but as I move up a little bit, I don't get any motion between the segments, right? So it's like you're fused. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But what ends up happening is that when the T-spine gets stiff, we can't control the scapula. And if we can't get the scapula out of the way or into a stable position, then the relationship between the humerus and the scapula gets off, and I get really bad mechanics here, and I get all this strange compensation. And I'm never going to fully address his internal rotation until I address where the shoulder blade is going on the body. And that starts with good old-fashioned T-spine. Oh, Mark. Makes it exquisite. I'm not going to say you're the stiffest of all time. SOAT.
I am.
You are. Chris Bell.
Everybody's worked on me so far says you're by far the
Oh, so
the
lucky,
worst.
man. That stiffness.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's
Well,
world class.
I always feel like I'm like, I don't want to go to that guy. He's just going to tell me how stiff I am. It's the worst. He's just going to insult me the whole time. Like, why are you so
Well,
stiff?
you know, you're in this family of achievers, you know. Your older brother was big and strong and stiff, you know. Mark
it's
Bell's
part
big and
of the
strong and
thing.
stiff, and you're like, God, I'm going to be the best.
Well, the next movie, maybe smaller, leaner, more flexible.
Down with the stiffness.
Yeah, down with the stiffness. There
Now
we go.
with the stiffness.
Let's do it.
Oh, that's so brutal, dude.
Feels great to me.
So one of the things people don't realize is that working on Mark and Jesse really helped me. This is actually true. Helped me solve some problems because you know we were seeing bigger and stronger athletes, and we needed a set of tools that actually worked. And you can see like there's no motion here at all.
That's why we get paid 3% on Mobility WOD.
And it's worth every tens of cents that you make. You deserve all of that. The royalty for the elephant mobility. Okay. The other thing I'm looking at two relationships here. One is just the T-spine, and we're gonna have to be a little more severe. And the second thing is we're looking at the relationship. You know, when the scapula swings out because it dumps forward, then if we look at like this is the end of his scapula here, then the rhomboid has to work really hard, and it's in a really weak lengthened shape. So we want to make sure that we can clean up the rib relationship too. So I'm looking at the T-spine. I'm also looking at how the ribs are articulating with the spine here. So I'm just going to start. Put your hand here. You okay there? Yep. So I'm just trying to bias the tissues into a little bit of a position of emphasis, and then see what that feels like. Oh, and guess what? That's stiff too, Mark.
Do I win a balloon?
No, that's too soft for you.
Thanks.
Do I win a balloon full of concrete?
It's unbelievable.
Look it.
It's good. More pain. He just starts laughing.
He was laughing because I was filming him.
So I'm not trying to get into his soft tissues here. I'm just trying to take up the slack and see if we can get actually the rib to move.
Is it possible that it doesn't have any more soft tissue?
It's
It's all hard.
dude, you saying I got soft tissue, bro? Still I train, bro. Nothing soft about gains. Can I take something for that?
For gains? Yeah.
No, for the softness.
Oh. To anti-softness?
Anti-softness. Is there like a Viagra for my back?
That's great.
Right. How long you been doing this stuff, Kelly?
I've been at PT school now, 12 years?
Damn.
No, that's not true. Went to PT school 12 years ago. But I've been obsessed for as long as I can remember.
You always like just always been like once you started lifting, helping people out and stuff like that?
Well,
Or
I don't.
started
No.
Sports or
I've been teaching a long time. I got my first like serious teaching job when I was 13. I was teaching kayaking to adults, and and my mom's a teacher, and I don't know. I just grew up around instructors and teachers. I always had good coaches, and why would this be any different? You know, just teaching.
evolution.
Yeah. I wish I'd had maybe some better quality coaching early on around some of the strength stuff. Some of us were, late to the game or were engaged in sports where there wasn't a premium on this,
You got to kind of find it yourself when you're younger, you know?
Yeah, and until now, I think it's different now.
Yeah, it's way different now.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a shift.
I think Mark and I have so many people come up to me that are like, 16, 17 years old. They're like, I saw your movie, man. I'm like, really? I don't know if you should be watching that. But,
Are you mixing your own supplements at home?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well, a lot of them actually say it makes them not want to do it. And that's good. It's a good.
Well, we have there's a kid in our neighborhood. So Georgia's best friend is this girl, and she has an older brother, and he wanted to play football, and I was like, look, you need to lift the weights. And guess who lives like 10 minutes from him? John Anderson.
Oh no.
And so this kid now has been training with John Anderson for over a year. So imagine as like a 14-year-old kid,
Is he a beast?
You discover John Anderson. Like
Yeah,
you
he's
eat
gotta be a
right,
beast.
he can work, he trains, he moves well, and like his life is forever changed. He like will lift weights his whole life. Everything is different. He'll eat differently. He'll be stronger than all his friends.
Tell tons of poop stories.
All of them. I mean, that's amazing. I'm not sure I'd let my son go hang out with John Anderson. No. He's just that's an incredible experience to get some formal training. And he shows up around a bunch of adults who are also killing it, And you're like, oh, this is what hard work looks like. And you show up and you don't complain, and you learn, you get hammered on technique. And I love how reasonable John is too. I gotta give a break. He's like, hey, I don't want you showing off for your friends in your garage. He's like, I know you're gonna want to lift the heavy weights, but don't do that in front of your friends. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Mark? No. Take a big breath. Big breath. Exhale. Now, watch that and take another big breath. Does anything here move at all, Chris?
No.
I'll give you a hint. No. One more time, big breath. See how it just doesn't move? Watch this. Now take a breath into my hand. That's better. Exhale.
Why is it moving when your hand's on it?
Because I'm giving them a contact cue to breathe into and expand. Breathe. Exhale. So sometimes we do some dedicated breathing work now when we're working on the T-spine. I want to make sure that I have expansion. If he can get more air in between sets or before he starts, higher intra-abdominal pressures, right? He can breathe more in like that heavy, long, big set of 20.
So say by doing this, opening them up, how long will this last? Or is it something you gotta just keep doing?
Well, this is not like, we're like changing the tissues. The tissues are changed. But if he doesn't maintain it and keeps squatting heavy and benching heavy, and then you end up with a similar result. But this is the first real bad elbow problem you've had in a long time, isn't it?
Yep.
You had a little shoulder problem on the same side. Or was it on your right side?
I was on the same side.
Same side. Remember that was when we first met?
Yep.
You bench 900.
Yep.
And it's not an accident that that was that stiff mechanic, and we saw stiffness in the T-spine, missing internal rotation, and that was what was giving him a little grief when he's benching 9. But the bench shirt now is
It just sounds ridiculous. Give me a little grief when you're benching 9, you know?
Well, you know what's really amazing is it would take me like an hour to load that many plates on the bar.
Well, when Brian Shaw loaded up that 1,000-pound deadlift, I'm like, how's he ever going to get that off the bar? Yeah, this
can't.
take forever.
That's the problem with being so strong. That's why I try to tell everyone. I'm like, you don't understand. The workout begins when you start loading the weights.
Yeah, it's not even worth it.
And you actually talk to people, and they'll make those jumps like 135, 225, 315, 405, right? It's because it takes so long to get to the heavy weights anyway. Why would you even waste time?
I used to train at Gold's with Mike O'Hearn and this guy, Ron Fedko, who's now the head of the computer science department at Stanford. And like Ron was like a nut. So when I got there the first day, O'Hearn's like, okay, you and your buddy got to load all our plates and then you can train with us for free. We're like, okay, so we're loading all the plates. Like 6 months into it, the other guy, Ron, is like, you guys don't always have to load plates. I'm like, well, O'Hearn said that we had to, or we couldn't live with you. He goes, what? When did he say that? I said, like 6 months ago.
Genius.
Like he's been fucking scamming us the whole time.
Well, and you know, it's one of those like lift the cow or wax on, wax off. Like you guys got brutally strong.
Just
loading plates.
Yeah.
Loading those 100-pound wheels onto the hip sled.
I benched 455 right in front of the Hulkster.
Did you really?
And he said, nice bench press, brother.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was like the most exciting.
That's all time. That's so.
Well, that's why I lifted at Gold's for like 20 years. I was like, I couldn't leave.
Thanks, Mr. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan was training with the Macho Man. That's like amazing. You'll never see that again.
No.
Smelly's asleep, I think.
You can't just snap into a Slim Jim whenever you want. The thing about this is, this isn't just about his elbow. This is about improving his position so they can bench 600. The elbow is the symptom of the poor position or the incomplete position.
Pretty much everybody can get better at doing this stuff, though, right?
Let's see. If you're human, then mechanics are sort of important to you. And the problem is you can do a lot of kick-ass stuff with incomplete mechanics, but that's not the full combo, is it? So what I'm really focused on with Mark too is trying to get into some of the joint stuff, because he can do the soft tissue work himself, right? You okay, Mark? Your shoulder?
All good.
This is really an elaborate ruse. I planted the seed like 2 years ago. I'm like, hey, Mark, I want you to try to bench 600. He's like, okay. So that I could get him here and I could hold his hand.
Just trying to get some contact.
It's like a prayer for Owen Meany. You know, the whole thing is backwards. It's like the movie, was it Signs? Right? This is like an M. Shyamalan plot to be able to hold your hand. It's good, you know.
I can't be involved in this production then.
I weigh 237, and it helps sometimes when you're working on the kids.
M. Night Shyamalan had like 3 great ideas and then he bombed out.
That's not true, dude. Last Airbender slayed it. Come on.
It's good? Oh. I couldn't
You
even
haven't
watch
seen it?
No, I
Dude, you're
didn't.
my like go-to
I didn't
film
watch
guy.
it because it had like 0.0 reviews. I was like, there's no way it could be good. Like, you can't salvage like a 0%, like a 3%.
No.
There's no way.
Once you're at 90% splat on Rotten Tomatoes, you can't come
Well, like,
back.
there's some great movies that are like, they'll still be like 50% or something like that. But like, when people give it like a 33%, there's no way it's going to be good.
Well, that's actually not true.
There's some that are like passable. That,
Alien versus Predator. Amazing movie.
Some movies are just fun, and if they're just fun and you look at it like that, then you know the reviews don't matter, right? Let's see what Cloverfield Lane got.
Mick LaSalle was one of my favorite reviewers, right here at the Chronicle, and around AVP said, "Think of the worst movie you've ever seen. Now think of a little worse." And I was like, "That's the harshest thing you could possibly say about such an amazing set of franchises who are battling it out."
Bowing it out. I'm checking now on your.
His
10 Cloverfield Lane got really good reviews. It got like 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm just saying.
That's amazing.
You don't hang
I'll
out,
have
take a
to
big
go
breath.
see it. You know what? I just
so.
associated with Cloverfield, and I was like, I don't care about that much.
No. If I hadn't seen John Goodman, big breath.
J.J. Abrams didn't do it though, right?
I think
produced it.
yeah, he just produced it.
I think though producing, like a lot of people don't understand. You're kind of the guy still.
Work around.
You know, producer has a lot to say in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm glued.
So
Did I tell you?
we had a movie we worked on at Sony, and Steven Spielberg was the executive producer. He came in and changed the entire movie. The entire movie. Like the kid was like 26-year-old director.
Made my face absorb into the thing there.
Move your elbow around.
I've never had anybody do that to my back before. That feels amazing. I can read.
I can play the piano. We got this. We always try to point positive. We never take people on with their bad mechanics, right? We just say it's a work in progress. We don't know where people are, what's going on. And on the internets too, you just don't need to be a troll asshole, right? Just be like, have a little class integrity. But we did when the reason I'm telling the story is J.J. Abrams. But we got this really, really upset email from this actor.
He said he's mainly working on the
Her name was Daisy Ridley. And I called her out on Twitter for running terribly. I was like, I had such high hopes for the next generation of Jedi. And then I saw Rey cut and tear ACL, and she became a statistic. And her trainer showed her that, right? And she was obviously very upset, so she sent us this really pissed email. And rightfully so. Like I can't imagine the stresses or the being in that position and just the public scrutiny, and then some dickhead in the US makes fun of your running, right? But my point was, and what I should have said was like, this is her coach missing this, right?
Yeah.
She's doing everything that everyone's asking her to do, and no one's telling her that this is a problem, right? And so she's literally running with her foot, turned out like she's gonna tear her ACL.
This is in the new Star Wars?
New Star Wars. If you watch Rey run and walk, she walks like a duck, runs like a duck, and she's so short in the hip. And she's like, hey, I was deadlifting. I'm trying to put on weight for this role. I'm not trying to be all skinny. And I'm like, you're right. Totally my bad, right? Someone needs to say, coach, we got to spot that and see it. We'll see.
So this all came from like a tweet?
All came from a tweet.
Like you tweeted her? Hey, you're fucking
I didn't
running
tweet
wrong?
at her. I just took this picture of a screenshot from the movie promo. And this is my favorite part of the whole email, because she was right. She's like, I was running away from stormtroopers and explosions. And I was like, that's when we really find out who you are.
Yeah.
Like when Darth Vader's coming,
Yeah.
we're going to
That's
find out what your
yeah,
technique
exactly.
looks like, right?
It's not even Darth Vader now. It's like fucking Kylo Ren.
Do you ever follow emo Kylo Ren
No.
on Twitter? Emo Kylo Ren?
No.
It's so amazing.
He looks like Silent Mike, Kylo Ren.
He does.
With long hair.
Iron Cheek on Instagram.
Hey, you do?
Amazing.
Yeah, he's angry. He has somebody
On your
different in the camel clutch every week.
See, you haven't even achieved. Have you ever been in the camel clutch?
Oh,
Really? With him?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Here we just asked me.
With Iron Sheik?
Hey, put
The
him in
Iron
the
Sheik
camel
is put you in
clutch.
the
No,
camel
I
clutch?
never wrestled.
You want to talk about...
That's what I'm saying.
Hey.
You haven't wrestled Iron Sheik.
You want to talk mobility?
people in,
Camel
Boston
clutch. A camel clutch and a Boston
About to-
crab can pretty much fix anything.
We're about to do the Dirty Sanchez mode. So all we did was clean up his spine, right? And we're gonna
The whole
see
time you're telling me that story, I thought it was fake.
Let the Dizzy Ridley?
Yeah.
No. And you can
Like
see
until
the
you got to the end of
change
it.
in his interrotation
There we go.
by working on restoring that T-spine.
Yeah.
And just that is enough to unload the elbow so you can start to get normal, right? So now, without just beating the shit out of the front of your shoulder, right? This is why we always say you gotta start spine first. And look, I just want to show everyone, if a powerlifter who walks in can bench 600 and has this much interrotation, that's amazing, right? Because
Yeah.
at the bottom, you're not gonna be compromised.
Right.
You won't have to lift your head up as much. That's fantastic. Right, that almost cleared up the full interrotation.
Yeah. Amazing.
Just with magic. So the question is, how does Mark do this himself, right? He's having to hang on a second.
Should we come on the a little?
I don't know. Text her, see what they think. Okay. All right, it's Christmas time. Are you on your back, Mark? I think so. Yeah, just kidding. Come here.
You're right.
I
He's
need you-
trying
I
to
need
sell
you-
you a butt plug.
It's not a butt plug.
Hey, it's
It's the butt plug.
Whoa. Who's been
It smells like vanilla, bro. Okay. Which sense?
potpourri?
No, that's disgusting.
Oh, it's two-sided.
yeah. So you can,
Butt to butt.
dance together.
Yeah.
She says on the directions for external use only. On your back.
It really does?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just in case?
Yeah, I did. We wrote that rogue. I wrote for external use only.
He's married to a lawyer, right?
It's got to be part of the appeal
perfect.
of it, though, right?
Dude, this is great. Well, it's aesthetic. I think what's so interesting is that the least, like the most sort of homophobic people I know, right, are still like, hey, I know what that is. And I'm like, do you?
Yeah,
You know, because it's an archetype,
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, we're going to really start here.
Archetype.
First rib. We're going to start here. Come on back. Now, there's no way
Oh.
Mark's going to get enough pressure in, so hug here. Actually hug that way.
Oh.
Now, bridge your butt up. Try to drive that into the ground. Take a big breath. Now, typically what we see is that people are just coming in straight up and down. I want you to imagine that I need all the corners. So if you were teeter-tottering around it, I need you to come in from a 360-degree radius. So you can teeter-totter back and forth. You can come in from this side. You can come from this side. You need to be able to make sure that the whole thing moves, right? So there's no wrong way or right way. So if I was going to come work
I'm
on
gonna
you.
stay up high on there.
Yep. If I was going to work on you. Let's go. Just scoot down one notch. Yep. Slide there. I'd want to come in and lay on you this way.
Yeah.
I'd want to come over this way, right? I'd try to wind you up, and then try to get as much pressure as I could, as many different directions as I can.
All right.
Right, now take a big breath. That was a cowardly little pinche breath, exhale. And one of the things that we're doing here is we're going to use your breathing to get in there, right? So as big a breath as you can take. Good, and all the way out. Keep going, all the way out, all the way out, all the way out. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And when we get all the way out, we can get some rebound in the tissues, right, at the bottom of the well. Big breath in. Exhale. Right, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then that's what you're gonna do with yourself. So, and you're not gonna be cleared until it feels okay to take a huge breath in. Go ahead. Good, exhale. Think of the implications of this, even with getting under a big squat and trying to pressurize.
Right.
We're actually training that, and we're gonna make it easier for you to get more air in.
Right.
And more air, everyone knows it's not about your strength; it's about how much air you put in your belly.
And not in your face. Yeah.
That's right, less in your face. Okay, so what you can do is scoot up one more notch. All right, so whatever one vertebra is to you at the top.
I got you.
Right, someone can do this and lay, and this would be no problem. This is one of the things that every powerlifter should be able to do to his training partner, right? Is make him tap out, but it's going to take some pressure. All I'm doing is grabbing his elbows, winding him up, and then just laying on him. I don't have to move. Go ahead and take a big breath in. Exhale. See how you couldn't get there? Come on. Don't be scared, Mark Bell. Good, and exhale. And I'm not just gonna crush him on the exhale, but I am gonna chase it down, and I'm gonna make sure that we're in all these corners. He bridges his butt up, bridge your butt up. Now you're loading those tissues. Big breath in. Exhale. All of this should be painless. That's how you know. Stiffness is one of the problems.
Right.
Big breath in. Exhale. I'm just moving in and out of resistance a little bit.
Yeah, it feels great.
Now, if you were by yourself, you could just take this, put it right on your chest. Oh, it's gonna hurt. Yep. And then wrap your arms around it. All right.
How much is
Which
that thing
is
weigh?
easier. It's 100. Right, but now you can relax. And I actually think it's better if you treat yourself than someone else, because you know exactly where you're tight, and if you're feeling sketchy, right? So you can go side to side, roll inside a little bit. Take a breath there. And exhale. Again, you can bridge your butt up. There's no right way or wrong way here. Only that you're trying to get movement in those segments. Mistake is that people are doing too little for too long. So it might be, I'd say, hey, minimum per motion segment, per vertebra is a couple minutes, but you're gonna see that you're already making change. Can you see this, Chris? That's a tear. You see the tear right there? That's a mark, seriously. See the glisten?
That's cholesterol.
Grown man do cry. Is it also cry?
Also cry too.
Grown men
It's from Big Lebowski.
cry as well.
Remember, he's like, grown men also
I
cry.
love Big Lebowski.
The Little Achievers, that was the guy, right? He's like, grown men also cry.
It's a great movie.
Now just teeter-totter back and forth. Lift your butt up, and then come down, and then just bridge up a little bit or round up. There you go. And we're capturing soft tissue at the same time.
We already established that there was no soft tissue.
We're gonna grab
We're
that.
capturing the skin.
My tissues are soft, like Charmin.
Well, it's like fossil. Fossilized tissues. That's actually
like
a good thing
Kleenex with the Vaseline on it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Is that a powerlifter secret?
Uh-huh.
And then smelling salts and tissues with Vaseline, and then scoot down one notch. Now,
I'm starting to get nervous. It's gonna really hurt.
what we think is
Fucking A.
the ribs, ribs above the T-spine and ribs above the halfway mark in the scapula really limit a lot of the overhead motion. But halfway down the scapula to the bottom of the ribs, the bottom of the rib cage, that's really limiting internal rotation because the scapula has to depress in order to have this internal rotation, right? When you bench, you're not up here, we should be here, right? And if you can't get that scapula down out of the way, then the whole system is a car accident.
You're screwed.
Nothing is fucked here, man.
The butthole clench. It's the key factor.
The sphincter sympathetic sweats. I don't know what you're talking about.
I can relate.
Oh, that feels good.
I'm not saying I'd like to build a summer home here, but the trees are actually quite lovely.
I have the worst friends, by the way.
You do. Your friends are really shitty.
They're fucking cheap.
They'll fucking kill you.
Get rid of the bottle quick. Ditch it. Just roll off to the side.
Speaking of cheap, we're going to see Jesse right after this.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Ah, here, hop out. Roll off.
Oh, my face.
And look. Again, relax that. Like we haven't treated.
There's also not any pain in it.
that
There was
amazing?
pain when you did that before.
Was there?
Right through here.
Right there. So we restore, a ton of internal rotation just by cleaning up the T-spine. And this is part of my hypothesis is that, hey, look, when you're treating, when we move, we got to prioritize spine first.
Right.
And when we fix, we got to prioritize spine first.
What do we do about tears?
We bottle them, we sell them. Mark Bell's tears. My tears cause cancer. Or
They
cancer.
cause cancer? Am I really taller now?
Well, yeah, weird. We had this woman who trained with us for a couple of years, and she went and got measured. She's like, I was an inch taller. I don't understand. I'm growing. And we're like, I don't know. Why are you an inch taller?
Yeah, my head's always forward.
Yeah. And you can't help it, right? So this is what's gonna take. Now, don't move. I want to show you the surprise because it gets worse than
Can
this.
I sleep here? Worst friends. 100-pound med ball? I need one of those butt plugs. I have one, but I think my wife took it. I haven't seen it. It's like, I love this thing.
Single ball. So we have
Is
two.
it weird that my wife stole my butt plug?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Dude, everyone needs it.
What's this guy called?
So this is a Supernovito. It's a small Supernova. And
Oh, mini.
and we made the mini, and it's got all these different surface
He made that at
features
his house in his bathtub.
so that it can get the grip. Because what we need to do is create more shear instead of just steamrolling, right? And this grip allows you to even wind up on areas like
Twist
your
all your
elbow,
stuff.
and then just extend, flex and extend with that twist. So even as you were just working
Right.
it out on a counter, right?
Yeah.
Allows us to get in there and create more shear. Now, what I want to do is we said when I worked on you, we had the T-spine, which is actually trying to block the actual motion segment of the vertebra. Now we're trying to go after the rib. So let's go ahead and do this for me. So halfway down the scapula, between the scapula and the spine, put in that position. Now put this hand behind your back. So bridge your butt up. Can you put that hand underneath your back a little bit, right? And even just by the side here, the idea is to try to get the shoulder put your head back, into a position of emphasis. So we're winding up the tissues where they need to be used, right? This would be kind of the finished position of the bench. Now breathe there. And then guess what comes in? Now. Oh shit. And you can hold this with your other hand.
Yep. Oh.
And just put it right over that ball.
Oh. I can try it. There we go.
And then just take some big breaths. And just slowly let it out. And just give it time to work. So instead of just being static now, because he's breathing, we're getting the motion through the segment.
God damn. That's a rough one.
That's a rough one. So what this is gonna, if you're trying to improve this internal rotation of your athletes, this rib mobilization, we're working on the rib between the scapula and the spine, trying to get the hand into some internal rotation. Even if just hand went out to the side and just press it to the floor, we'd still get what we're after. But then trying to get the breathing in here with the weight over. And again, that should feel not terrible. But this, right now you're cleaning up your rhomboids, right, and the traps. And if they are less stiff, like, here's what we say is, if we were going to eat Mark Bell and we were going to eat his traps, we'd have to make an adobo and boil them with like some acid, a little vinegar, and like we'd have to boil them for like 12 hours. What do you think, Yasmin? How long would we have to boil his traps to make it like a good adobo? Like that chicken.
Yeah.
You have to boil it 12 hours.
Yes.
No way. You couldn't. Too gristly. Way too gristly. Too gristly. You have to make a curry. And
so here's the analogy I want you to break down for me. What section of the grocery store would I be in? They now have hormone free, non-growth hormone, right? And then they have the grass fed. Like, where would I be?
Well,
I probably wouldn't be for consumption, for human consumption. I'd probably be for rats or something.
You're somewhere in the middle. Like, you are grass fed. You're traditionally manufactured. I think it's interesting.
Cage free.
You're definitely cage free, right? I think that's
what you got to determine for yourself too.
You know what? What's interesting? Every once in a while, someone gives me grass-fed meat. You know what I like better? Corn-fed.
Yeah, corn-fed.
It's so much better.
It just tastes better.
Well, what do they say? About that corn-fed guy? He's huge, right?
They never said that. Yeah, look at that grass-fed. That big grass-fed guy.
Grass-fed kid's strong. Corn-fed.
Look how thick that vegan guy is. So, the root of, soft tissue work is fair game. You have plenty of guys working on it. This is the base. But something I do want to clean up is just how stiff the forearms are, and I'll show you how we're doing that.
This is never good.
What I like...
All doctors do this, right?
This is totally normal. What I like about this is you can lay down, right? Collar. And this is a really good way to be able to address some of the stiffness in that forearm. Yeah. You can make it a little bit more acute by narrowing the diameter. And then here's the other piece around this, because you can get. We're not looking at the sort of the mechanisms around the joint, and I can get in here, and I can also pull and twist. What you're going to need though is a little more weight. So what happens? I just lay my legs on the bar, and then as I twist, you're going to feel like you're going to want to black out. And what you're going to realize is how stiff the biceps and the flexors are, and how they're limiting your range, which makes a huge difference in this bottom position. Right. If your biceps are stiff, then you're creating all this.
Biceps torn. So.
Well.
Hey, Kelly, who's this good for? What kind of people is this good for?
Well, I would say if you have elbows, this is probably good for you. But what we're not doing is, we actually talk to people about who have biceps tears, and we say, well, how often did you ever address the tissue quality of your biceps? Never. Like 1 billion. What'd you do for your sore biceps? I waited for them not to be sore. I ate some cake. What'd you do for your sore quads? Well, I rolled them out and massaged them, right? But there's just some areas they don't ever bark at you, and this tissue gets really stiff. So working on the flexors really makes a difference.
That's kind of true. Yeah, no one's biceps really hurts. It's more like the forearm or elbow or something, right?
And that's like saying, well, my quads are stiff and I weirdly have knee pain. Do you think they're connected? I'm like, yeah, it's weird. I conceptually think of the triceps are like the hamstrings in terms of how strong they are, and these are your quads. I know people are like, it's not how it works, but that's more functionally how it works. Right, so do this for me. Start here, right?
Yep.
Lay your leg on the bar. Twist it around so you can get some pressure on there.
Oh yeah, I feel that.
So the bottom leg goes on the bar first.
Yeah, and then just that way he doesn't have to do any work, right? And then you can roll that. And then, you know,
He should be twisting from up there, right?
doesn't matter where he goes. You know, just
Oh, right here.
Yeah. That's what Kelly was.
it's an easy way to kind of get the kind of pressure you're after. And it takes a lot of pressure to get in there, right? And even just someone applying a little bit more roll, you get some motion, but try up into the biceps. So take up to that corner, right there. Now flex. It's terrible, isn't it? Now flex your arm around it, and watch this. And then twist your forearm into different directions, like this. Twist it.
Holy shit.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Over there for one or something.
So just twists and hit those end ranges, because that was what we were trying to do in extension, make sure you could unlock the elbow. So in this position and this position, we want to make sure that he has motion in those things. Motion in that tissue, especially on the joint. And you can see the implication of how that is that stiff. It's so bad.
It's so funny because he's like, you're just gonna want to pass out. And it didn't look like he did anything. I was like, why would I want to pass out?
Dude, I'm taking a nap on my biceps.
But that's crazy.
And then watch, tack. And then if you just extend your elbow. Dude, PR, come on, Mark, you got this, Mark.
Kelly, what does that mean when you say tack?
Well, what we're doing is, imagine that we're anchoring down the tissue. It's like ART. And then we're trying to slide the tissues past that. So it's a way of getting all of the sliding surfaces restored. So conceptually, you should think that you're like layers of warm silk sliding over steel springs, right? And that is not layers of warm silk. That is like wet mud from a riverbank with grilled cheese and spikes in it. Like that's
beef jerky.
That is beef jerky. And just giving it chance, but especially in here, especially here, those areas are just, it's bad. It's really bad. What we're asking people to do is, hey, when you're training, your pain and dysfunction, stiffness is a cue about your incomplete mechanics. And if hopefully Mark gets on a program where his elbow stops hurting, because it'll stop hurting again, guaranteed. Like we've never, you know, this will get better. And then lo and behold, he'll take his eye off it and start solving some other problems. And it'll be a week or so. He's like, God, I haven't done anything for my arms in a week. Come back in and touch it. You know, so eventually we get into a response where we're kind of constantly working upstream and downstream around all that. Because you gotta treat the whole thing. Isn't that amazing how bad that is?
Yep. Yeah, that always hurts from squatting, that little sucker.
That's right. So you know, move your fist, open and close your fist. Look at that. Dude, if I was a caveman and I took that home, my wife would be so stoked. Dude, you just fed us for a week. You know, it's important as you're solving these problems, you're thinking, hey, other side of the joint. I mean, this is a system. It's not this insertional problem is the end, right? We're looking at how efficient that is. You know, and
Yeah,
Mark's,
you worked on my upper back to help my elbow.
just to clean up the mechanics, right? So you know how to voodoo floss, you can scrape. There's a lot of people doing all the soft tissue work.
Right.
That's gonna clean up, but we've got to get to the root mechanic problem. And I would say let's start. I mean, you've got that gives you plenty base for getting some work done.
Right.
Especially, I'd say in the strength sports, sometimes our working windows are really small. If you were, you know, not that I would advocate necessarily pull-ups for our powerlifters,
Right.
but if you had to put your arms over your head, or at least press
Right.
overhead, you would find out that you, right?
Yeah, I tried some cleans the other day. It didn't work out so good. I was like, here,
Isn't that how Mark pressed? Like he cleaned 315 the other day and was like,
and then this way.
I fucking got this.
That pretty much concludes our trip to San Francisco CrossFit with Kelly Starrett. He was nice enough to fix me up, and not only fix me up, but give me a lot of tools that I can use for myself. A lot of stuff I need to work on. He gave me some of these little gimmicks here that you can get off of roguefitness.com.
These aren't gimmicks.
Sorry.
These are called college tuitions.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, some of these little devices you can get off of roguefitness.com will help fix me up. I just gotta stay on top of it, and I gotta do stuff that I don't normally do.
Yeah, that's true.
There we go.
You're gonna pay your daughter's tuition with a butt plug.
Well, you have two choices. You can either do that or, like, you know,
Something else.
get them on the pole.